This show offers a shame-free space for candid, science-backed discussions on sexuality, body literacy, anatomy, self-exploration, and pleasure. Hi, I'm Roxanna, clinical sexologist coming to you from Vancouver, BC, Canada. Welcome to Exploring Pleasure and Relationships, the podcast designed to help you deepen emotional and physical connections, prioritize your pleasure, and build stronger, more intimate relationships. Whether you're seeking to better understand your body, explore your desires, or communicate your sexual needs with confidence, each episode provides actionable tips and expert insights that empower you to take control of your sexual expression. From understanding nuances of intimacy and pleasure to building healthier, more fulfilling relationships. This podcast is your go-to guide for all things sex and connection. Join us as we dive into conversations about love, relationships, and sexuality, while also tackling topics like sexual expression, communication, and self-care. Remember, your pleasure is your responsibility. It helps if you have a partner that's invested in your pleasure as well, but we'll get onto that in another episode. Ready to prioritize your pleasure and start building the intimate life you deserve? Tune in now and don't forget to download my free checklist, join the waitlist for my online course, or check out my online adult shop at thesexualityclinic.com. Subscribe today and start your journey toward more confident, connected, and pleasurable relationships. So welcome. I am Roxanna, clinical sexologist. I wasn't born this way. I have studied a lot about the human body. I have studied sex. I have studied learning and technology, and I am ready to put it all together to offer you a podcast where you can deepen your connection with yourself, all the while deepening connections with others. I really do like to focus on the self, to do a values-based approach with my work. Think about where you are, and then think about where you want to be, and then build the path that takes you there. In today's episode, I would love to talk to you a little bit about how I got into this field. Now, if you think back to your childhood self and what you might have aspired to be as an adult, how do they connect? Is there a connection? Do you still not know what you want to be when you grow up? Well, for me, I was about 10 years old, wishing that I was a mother. Yes, I wanted to be a mom at 10. I wanted a large family. I wanted a shared partnership with the father of my children. To be honest, I considered wanting to be a single mom because I am a product of a very short relationship and have lived in multiple homes between my parents for many years. Had lived. I moved out at 17 and never returned. I did get to the large family, and I'd like to believe that I actually created that for myself. So visualizing what it is that you want and building the path there, there's something to be said for having that visualization in the first place. Not saying that I made out a list saying I would like to have 8 children, and these are the steps to creating those 8 children, but I did have a vision. So here I am in Vancouver. We've got 7 children. 6 of them I birthed myself. We did have a couple of miscarriages in there, so I'd like to say that I did get my 8. And I also have a stepdaughter who is the same age as my oldest. So from my experience in relationships, you really do need to wake up and choose each other. There's so much learning that I have done that I would love to share with each of you and be relatable and be real and really focus on the pleasure and the relationships. So we find relationships in all aspects of our life: work relationship, friendships, partnerships, children, mothers, aunts, friends, etc. A lot of what I talk about when it relates to relationships can be applied to more than just your intimate sexual partnered relationships. But for the purposes of this podcast, I will sort of be centering around sexuality and sexual expression and connection with intimate partners. How I got here, though, I actually completed my high school in North Delta and flew out to the University of Toronto, where I figured, based on my dad, who is an engineer, based on his advice, that I would go and become a biomedical engineer before entering pediatrics as a pediatrician. Now, yes, I started in biomedical engineering at the University of Toronto, which was an absolutely insane choice for me. Still not sure exactly why I chose that option. Thinking it had to do a little bit with the expectations that were put on me, but also maybe using it as an excuse to really travel far away from the responsibilities that I had at home as the oldest of many. To just go and be free. I was the valedictorian of my class. I've always been an achiever, but that particular program was not one that I wanted to complete. So after my first year in biomedical engineering, I carried on to do a honors Bachelor of Science in human biology with a double minor in linguistics and anthropology. Then I came back to Vancouver, brought a husband with me, had a couple of babies, applied for my master's program in learning and technology at Royal Roads, where I focused on adult learning, and in particular with the use of technology. So I'm actually creating a course now using that knowledge that I gained in my master's program many years ago now. But it seemed that there was a bit of a hiccup in that first relationship that I had where I had children. I did not carry on in that relationship through my master's program. It, in fact, struck a big chord in the relationship, and I realized that the support that was there wasn't what I needed for my future, and my goals and values did not align. So that is something that's key at the root of a relationship, is to be supportive of one another, is what I've learned, and to allow the space for each individual to be exactly who they are, to allow them to grow and be the best that they personally can be, and to encourage that on a daily basis. And so I met my current husband 14 years ago. I had a 1-year-old. He had a 2-year-old. I also had a 2-year-old. So we became a blended family. There were 5 of us, 3 kids, 2 adults, and a couple of pets. If we could survive the navigating of new parents merging together to parent each other's children, pretty sure we can survive anything. I completed that master's degree program. I was working at the University of British Columbia as a manager for the small group learning for their medical school. And in that program, I saw that, in fact, my desire to work in medicine was not about medicine. It was about helping others. So I did not go on to become a pediatrician. I decided, while on my 6th maternity leave, that I would start my own business in an attempt to create something larger. Now, that was 4.5 years ago. I left my position with UBC and started selling pleasure products, which was completely out of my nature. However, I realized that pleasure products can bring pleasure, which can relieve stress, which can, in fact, improve your life. So, not saying that everyone needs pleasure products, but it was almost like my entryway into the life that I was destined to live. So here we are today, 4.5 years later. I completed that master's, I completed my undergrad, and 2 years ago, I started into a clinical sexology training program. I wanted to have an education behind me so that I would feel confident sharing relevant information with my clients, with my listeners, with my possible students for the course that I am currently creating. I wanted it to be scientifically backed. I didn't want these anecdotal stories. The internet is full of adult content, a lot of pornography, a lot of acting, a lot of misinformation. For now, I will carry on letting you know how I became the clinical sexologist that I am now and what I hope to offer you if you carry on this journey with us while I learn and grow and share the knowledge that I have come to host in my noggin from many of my books that I have read. This is one of my particular favorites. This podcast is for anyone who is curious about sexuality, open to growth, is seeking practical advice, is eager to explore topics like communication, sexual health, pleasure, and relationships. There is no age that this podcast is aimed at. There is no gender or anything else that is specific. Basically, if you're curious, you have a desire to learn, you have a desire to grow, and you're interested in improving your sexual connections and communication with partners, then this is the place for you. So we're going to talk through a whole host of exciting topics in the months and years to come. Next episode, we're going to talk about painful sex, and we're going to talk about solutions or what to do. Because when I started that pleasure products company, I didn't start a company. I joined up with a company in a business that I was able to call my own and began offering ladies' nights to sell the pleasure products. I have since stopped with that particular company and created my own. So I do have an online shop. It's hosted at thesexualityclinic.com. I'm in the process now of uploading demo videos for each of the products that I carry so that you can have that information readily available from the comfort of your own home. Scientifically based demonstrations and explanations for why you might want or not want to use some of the goodies that I might carry. Now, if you want to take a browse, you're welcome to take a look. I often have promos running. Make sure that you check out the banner at the top of the page at thesexualityclinic.com and then enter your coupon code upon checkout. Yeah, I think we'll just kind of keep it short and sweet for the first episode, to be honest. So if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and please leave a review at Apple Podcasts because your feedback will help me to grow the podcast and reach new listeners. I really would love to spread this information about sensuality, sexuality, pleasure, relationships. I want to spread this far and wide. I want it to be authentic in your expression. I do not want any of my listeners to believe that they should have sex that looks anything like something that somebody else is doing. So they shouldn't look this way or do that activity or this activity because they saw it somewhere or heard about it somewhere. It should be an expression of your own desires and your own pleasure-seeking activities, okay? You do not need to have PVI, for example, penis in vagina intercourse, to call it sex. So my podcast is going to help you to redefine what sex is and to look at ways to improve your relationships and to experience more pleasure. Pleasure is a birthright, and you deserve it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to hanging out again soon. Bye for now.